Right, let's do that. Right, here we are. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our podcast interviews with some really interesting healthcare experts. Today, we have a very special guest, Dr. Harvey Castro, who I had the chance of meeting at AI4 in Las Vegas a couple of months back. And it was a pretty interesting conversation. I mean, as much as the event was filled with sessions, I think this was one of the most fruitful ones and most interesting ones because, why wouldn't AI get interesting when you've got that coming along? So it was a really nice chat in the beginning, and we're glad that we have had the chance to have Harvey on our podcast series over here. Our topic today is, of course, going to be primarily around AI and interoperability in healthcare, and we're going to ask some interesting stuff and hear Dr. Harvey's viewpoints on that. But I'd like to first, ask Dr. Harvey to give an introduction about himself. I might do it, but I think it's going to be
Yeah.
best from coming it from the man himself. So, Dr. Harvey, if you would introduce
Awesome.
yourself to our audience, please.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. Big picture, I'm a ER board certified doctor. Had the honor to been doing it for over 20 years. I've been really blessed in that I enjoy being an entrepreneur and being a doctor and putting it all together. Big picture, I created the first application called IV Meds on the iPhone back when the App Store opened up, and it you basically tapped it 3 times and it would give you the IV dose. And I was taking care of a patient. They were critically, literally crashing in front of me, and I told the nurse, "Hey, we need to start this drip." And then she went and got a textbook and started thumbing through it, got a calculator, started typing. I was like, "Oh my gosh, no, I'm gonna make an app." And I was the first one that did it, and it went viral. Fast forward, love ER, but I wasn't happy with the care that was at the emergency room where I was working, and I decided since in Texas you can have your own emergency room, I created about 20 of these, put 8 of them under one brand, and then taught doctors how I thought would be best to manage, and had my own billing company, staffing company, emergency rooms, and some of these I converted into hospitals. And then fast forward, this thing called ChatGPT came out, and I thought, man, this will change the world. And I thought, let me write a book on it. So back in 2022, I wrote the first book on how to use ChatGPT in healthcare. And so now I've been blessed that the country of Singapore has me as an advisor for them. The Texas Medical Association has me an advisor for them. And so now I'm working with different hospital systems, different countries on how to use AI in healthcare. So it's been pretty fun.
Excellent, excellent. That's awesome. And I still remember when you started off that session at AI4, you had the AI version of you talking amazing stuff, not just about yourself, but you had these other clones of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, everyone praising the work. But that was an interesting way to engage the audience. I like that. All right. So, Dr. Castro, we're going to begin with one of the biggest questions, I would say, that is, of course, a very commonly heard one, but I'd love to hear your viewpoints on it. So AI in healthcare, how much of it in the end of 2024, you would say, is actually just a hype, or how much of it is the real practical implementations coming in play as we see it?
Yeah. Obviously, for us, there's different flavors of AI. The ones everybody's used to hearing is, your GPS taking you to your favorite restaurant, and then others that we're knowing medicine is more the X-rays, CAT scans. We're used to saying, "Oh yeah, the CAT scan, X-rays, the AI is helping you read that." We're not really used to the generative AI portion. With that said, I see more. Obviously, radiology is probably like 80% of all the stuff that we're regularly seeing in healthcare. The other 20%, I'm seeing more and more uses in the hospital as far as the C-suite. So the repetition, the bills, creating summaries, making the C-suite more efficient. Now, when it comes to us doctors, as far as using if you're not a radiologist or a dermatologist and using these tools, we are seeing them in our tool set. For example, uh, some of the EMRs that are out there, I'm not going to mention any names, have some of the AI in there where it's helping us create summaries and looking through big amount of data, as well as for our tools. As an ER doctor, we're now having, or just any doctor, you're having more access to tools that have AI in them. So obviously, we all use up to date. I know they're working on an edition that will have more AI into it, different tools that are leveraging AI. I know met with multiple startups and they're all looking to see how they can leverage AI in healthcare. And that's the million-dollar question. That's, I think, some of the stuff that we hear like, oh, wait, that's kind of hype. With that said, the FDA is trying to regulate all these things that are coming out, and that in itself can be a whole podcast of the issues to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, that's great. And as we talk about the implementations of AI, of course, it's still a lot of work on the ground, still a lot of visionary elements in play. Uh, the heart of it is very much relying all on the availability of data, not just the availability, but also how well integrated or how well interoperable systems exist for them
Hmm.
to be able to have the right AI capabilities. Now, where do you see in the current world where these challenges, of course, still coming in play, are creating those hindrances in achieving what the AI is supposed to be achieving by the end of this year or in the coming future?
Yeah, no, the great question. I'll give you a case in point. There's New York Tron and Gatortron are large language models that are using the data from the patient population. So if you're in a New York system and you happen to go one of the hospitals that are using New York Tron, what you will find is they're pulling all that information of who that patient is, what that data is coming in for that particular hospital, but then they're leveraging the large language model to be able to assess. So say you came in and I have to discharge you, it's going to go through and see if there's other patients like you that for that particular hospital and say, you know what, this score of this person should go as XYZ. Hey doc, maybe keep him an extra day and or don't accept him, or the opposite. Maybe he's good to go. You can send them. That is amazing because now it's using what's called federated learning, and every hospital is sharing their data with the other, but they're only sharing it to help the model. And then for that particular hospital, that particular zip code is going to be different from the hospital, even if it's across the street. And so now they're able to use those models because hospital A may get a certain type of population and hospital B may, due to insurance or demographics or specialty of that hospital, may see it different. And so even though they're across the street, they'll be different. But the beauty is having that data to now integrate. And to answer your question with that background, I truly believe that the bigger hospital systems with the deeper pockets will be able to leverage their own data to create these abilities to create this AI models. Those hospital systems that are smaller, that don't have those type of resources, may not be able to leverage with, say, New York trying and say, hey, can we use your model? Because again, it's different data, different amount of information. So moving forward, what I foresee happening is that will become a competitive advantage for some of these hospitals. And I think we will start seeing a dip in hospitals where some hospitals may start closing, but then these bigger hospital systems will start acquiring them to promote their leverage.
Absolutely. Awesome. Awesome. That's good. And as we talk about these hospital systems engaging in these methodologies, would you say that, especially with interoperability issues, would you say uh, clinics or private practices, they have a faster turnaround in adapting to the solutions provided by interoperability and AI capabilities in the modern day? Or would you say that these large healthcare providers have a faster turnaround in adapting to those?
That's a good question. And I chuckled because when I had my small emergency rooms, I was able to pivot and do things quicker and faster than the big hospital systems. And sometimes I would tell them, hey, I'm about to do this. And I knew I wasn't worried because if they try to copy me, it would take them a year. By the time they went through all the chain of commands and everything and administration and back to corporate office in another state, it would take a while. I think it's a hard question for the following reasons. If you're a big whale and own a bunch of hospitals and have the deeper pockets, then you have the ability to do some things that you have the financial budget to do so. If you're a smaller entity, it may be a little tough because you may not have the dollars to do some of these things. With that said, as far as the interoperability, I agree in that if you're small, it's sometimes easier because you're small and nimble and you can add things and you don't have to go through the mothership and say, hey, can I add this or not? But if you're small enough that you can say, no, we can add whatever we want, then you can. The only caution to those individuals that are able to do that is to make sure they get a good consultant because there's so many startups, there's so many things going on, and obviously, number one thing is we want to make sure we protect HIPAA. We want to make sure we're not violating our patients' rights and we're being transparent. And then, depending on which flavor you're picking of the AI and how you're doing it, even though you can implement it quickly, you may be doing it wrongly.
Absolutely, that's correct. I mean, yes, but I certainly agree because even with the implementations that we do, the turnaround time is as it's been noted that it's been really fast when it comes to small practices. Of course, deep pockets means bigger implementations, and that's always a better win. But these small practices, you can always have the right set of small solutions which you could implement and see the outcomes much more fast than you could compared to these bigger healthcare providers. So that's always a faster output in that case. But in this entire your experience advising and implementing AI-based solutions, we'd love to know what is your most favorite success story in the recent times where some certain level of implementation actually got you really excited.
Yeah, no, that's a good. I'm glad you asked that question. That's tough. I like it. I'm thinking. I know I just gave the example of Neurotron and Gatortron. I really like the predictive analytics as an emergency room physician, being able to use my clinical gestalt of years will have an issue because at 2 in the morning, I'm tired. I'm not there 100%. Being able to leverage these types of tools to be able to look at it and say, you know what, this is the better decision, I think is key. And that makes me excited because at the end of the day, my favorite phrase, it's human plus AI will beat the best human or the best AI. And so if I'm giving my clinical gestalt and I'm having the human in the loop, and then I'm adding AI, now I'm leveraging and creating something more than just me by myself or the AI by itself. And so the more and more I think about it, I think those are the type of use cases that really make more sense. I'll give you another quick example. This is old, but just having Google integrated into the EMR as far as flu and knowing what outbreaks are out there or where the flu is and hey, this is a hot zone and to the point where like, all right, don't even bother testing this flu because we know most of the people are positive. Having that ability to know this is what's coming or hey, it's in down the street and it's about to hit Dallas, then I can prepare. So I think those tools are huge. And I know there's multiple AI companies already helping the C-suite saying, okay, we need to prepare. Oh, so the flu example, we need to get more tests, we need to get more medications, and now we're able to leverage and be able to expand. As opposed to there might be another region of the country that hasn't gotten hit yet, then they can send those resources down to the quote unquote bad areas. And then when that continues, they already know, okay, now this area is about to get hit hard. Now we can make sure the resources are ready for that area.
Mhm. So you don't see AI replacing humans in the medical sector. You see them working together.
Yes. And I chuckle at that question. With that said, 2 points. One, in my work lifetime, I don't see it happening. But when I look at little children that are 5 years old, that they're playing with their iPads, when they are in charge, when they are in the ranks of saying, okay, I see that changing because at that point, the culture's different, the mindset's
Mhm.
different, the acceptability is different. I'll give you a quick example. I showed my wife and other people around my age a robotic dentist that can do a root canal in 15 minutes. And I asked them, would you allow this robot to do a root canal on you? And they all said no. Then I asked my kids, teenagers, the 20-year-old, hey, here's this robot that would do a root canal. Would you allow it? And all of them said yes. Now I know that's a very small anecdotal point, but my point is they see the world differently. And if they're in charge and they're the ones that want to, they'll be controlling the future, then they're going to make the choice to say, you know what, maybe we should. Then to add to that, I always talk about robots. And I truly believe that Elon Musk will have these robots, and he said it in his factories. Fast forward, you put the vision multimodality of these robots that you've seen
Mhm.
in AI into the robot that can now say, hey, Harvey's blood pressure is this. Hey, this feed that we're doing right now, I can tell he's a pre-diabetic because it's saying this, or his blood pressure went up. Now, if you
Mhm.
put that in front of the robot, I see that being a really powerful tool. So that's where I say it's going to be working together at another level. Now, my robot's right here with me and I'm taking care of you guys. But the robot's like, okay, hey, we need to make sure that Murad's hemoglobin A1C is okay. Hey, are these blood pressures up? We need to check his blood pressure just with the vision. They see you
Yeah.
walking into the room and the robot's like, hey, he was favoring his right foot. I don't know if you noticed that, but I did, and we need to check his hip when you're examining him. that kind of integration will be common. And I
Yeah.
predict that by the year 2026, we'll start hearing of the first robots in the United States in the hospital system.
Nice,
Well,
nice. That's
that's a
that's
very, 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 very insightful answer. I mean, we can't even begin to comprehend this one, but given your experience, I think that's coming. That's this answer is coming from there. That's very nice.
And I'd say that, in the next decade or 2 decades or so, a lot of the patients are going to be this new generation that's coming and that's not scared of this technology, right? With us and people, way behind, before our generation, they're more human-centric. And this often leads me to the fact where you may often see that the problems of patient engagement are currently trying to be solved with AI implementations. For example, doctors spending as less as possible time with the patients to have answers beforehand and then spend maybe 5 to 10 minutes with the patient where they previously spent like 45 minutes or so to get that diagnosis out and everything. Now, with these kind of implementations in place, the human interaction element is like quite less over here. Would you say now this could be a double-edged sword, but would you say that this is like a more on the moving more on the positive side where it's saving time? Or would you say that the less amount of human interaction is actually going to be more of a negative impact?
That's a good question. It depends what we're doing. There's some things that the sooner we can get that done, the sooner we can take care of you. Case in point, if we are in an emergency room, since I'm an ER doc, that came to mind first. If we're in an emergency room and there's 50 patients in the waiting room and everybody's signing in, we have a human being that's having to go through, or a couple human beings that are going through, like, okay, you can come in, you wait. But what if we had an AI like this camera in the waiting room, and the AI is able to sense, hey, this person's heart rate all of a sudden went down. Hey, this blood pressure went up. This person is waiting. No, something just changed. Pull them. As opposed to a family member or somebody saying, hey, can you check on my dad? He's looking like he's getting worse. Now that camera is using AI and really keeping a surveillance of that waiting room and saying something
Hmm.
changed. And so what would you rather have? Is that taking away the human touch? I would argue no, because if we're able to save that life, if we're able to make a difference, because humans, we're busy, and unfortunately, and we can't make mistakes. But if that AI catches things that we have missed, man, now we're saving lives. If anything, we're being even more empathetic because we're doing what we can, even though with our limited resources.
No, I think that's really an important insight because especially at the waiting room angle, if you've got people over there and any situation could get worse.
Hmm.
And there are several cases we've seen at hospitals, suddenly the patient needs immediate attention and they're still on a wait line and the things can get very catastrophic at that element at that point. But for sure. One question that I always love asking in this aspect, I know you've partially answered that already, but I'd love to know any one bold prediction you would do for the year 2030 for AI in healthcare?
Yeah, I like giving stories. So it's the year 2030, and my watch wakes me up. It's 2 in the morning, and my watch detects that my heart rate has changed and that something's off. I wake up, and my watch automatically turns on the TV and connects me with the local ER doctor down the street because it knows where I'm at. The ER doctor looks at me and we start talking. He's like, yeah, you need to come into the emergency room. Not the ambulance shows up, but the robot shows up with the ambulance that's also like a Tesla equivalent where it drives itself. And so I walk into the ambulance, the robot's there looking at me, and it's this vision that we're talking about. It says my blood pressure, my sugars, what's going on. And then it says, hey, you need to take an aspirin. So then it starts printing an aspirin. Then I take my aspirin. I start doing it. Go to the emergency room. The doctor that I was talking to is the one I see. And we go through. He takes care of me, sends me home. Next morning I wake up and they give me some medicine and I urinate, and then there's this device that's already in the toilet that can do over 5,000 metabolites. And it says, you know what? This came up this morning. We need to change your medicine. And then now I can print my own medicine and I take my pill. Everything I've said already exists. It's just a matter of integrating. And
Excellent.
that'll be
I
there
think
by the year
this is a
2030.
very nice clubbed up example of like a day in life of someone who needs medical attention and how AI and the right
Mhm.
set of integrations could solve for them. I think that's definitely one solid
And
answer.
one more question that I had.
Yeah.
Do you think that AI would be able to help in, remote patient care systems like they're going around, like coming up very quickly? So do you think that the patients who need remote care, just like you mentioned, you wake up in the morning, you consult with your doctor, all remotely. And what about patients? What would be the your prediction or thoughts on AI for taking care of patients that are, who have remote machines deployed in their homes,
Oh yeah.
for
No,
example, the old people.
yeah, no, I'm personally working on a device called Help AI. That's with two P's. And what we're gonna do here, we're already in the hospital system, but we're gonna put this in people's homes. It is a sensors that are in the house, and they will detect, has the patient fallen, has the patient broken their habits, in the sense that, let's say mom doesn't wake up at, she always wakes up at 8 and it's 8:10, and sensors haven't seen her walking around, to call you, because this is for the elderly, call you, the caretaker, maybe you're at work, saying, hey, your mom hasn't gotten up. Or the AI detects that you took the medicine twice. And so they're like, hey, mom, you can't take your medicine twice. You already took it this morning. And then being able to detect changes. And so instead of being a reactive healthcare, these sensors are supposed to be a proactive, so that simple stuff like I already mentioned, like the gait. Now you're walking a little different. Say, hey, we may need to check that. Hey, the way you walk, it may be early signs of Parkinson's disease. Let's say get you evaluated for that. And so the remote monitoring, what will happen. I truly believe that we're taking the hospital out of the hospital and putting it into your home.
Wow,
I think
that's a
it's gonna
nice
be,
way to summarize that.
yeah, we're gonna put that statement in the content that we put out for sure. Excellent, excellent.
Very nice.
I think yeah, Adil, I think all questions covered pretty much we wanted to ask.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Else?
This one I had in my mind.
No, that's good.
Awesome.
Dr. Castro, once again, we really appreciate you taking the time out. Thank you for the valuable insights. We'll definitely be staying in touch, and I definitely will be checking out the TED Talk. Wasn't it going to be live again?
They said uh about 2 months, but I was talking to some of my friends and they're like, sometimes it could take a year. So I
Oh.
hope it doesn't take a year, because then I'll need like two more TED Talks before then, because to keep up. But I'm really excited. One thing I do want to tell people is, if you are interested in a TED Talk, I took my personal experience, all of the things, how I trained everything, and I put it into a book and I released it on Saturday, the same day I gave my TED Talk. And
Oh,
then the
nice.
other thing I wanted to share with you guys that you'll appreciate, I created something called Speaker Plus AI, and I can take any video. In fact, when we're done, send me the link to this video, and or the actual raw file, and then I upload it to my AI, and then the AI will analyze how well I discuss, how well my content was the delivery done well, did I go too fast, did I look nervous, did I look at the camera, and then it gives me a whole report. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
I use that a lot to train myself when I was practicing for my TED Talk.
Nice, nice. I would definitely love to see that. I'll be sending you the link, and
Yeah.
please do share that with us.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, and it'll grade you two guys. I'll make sure to tell it to grade you guys.
All right, awesome, perfect. A little nervous here, but okay.
No, for sure.
Dr. Castro, once again, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Really appreciate it, and you have a good rest of the week.
All right, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
And then let me know when it
Thank you
comes
so
out.
much.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Justin,
Take
we're
care.
hoping that probably most likely by the end of this week, we're going to start putting out the content over there.
Sweet, sweet. And then are you gonna do shorts too?
Yep, shorts as well, full
Perfect.
video too. So we do it topic by
Sweet.
topic so that, it
Oh,
gets,
this will be
yeah.
really good.
Absolutely.
All
Please do
right,
share
guys.
it in your circle as well. I'm sure
I
that you're
will.
work with. Yeah,
I will.
absolutely.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
meeting
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.